You're watching the free version of Paperclipping. Paperclipping members get access to the archives, higher resolution videos, and members-only content every month. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the membership information page at paperclipping.com. Hey everybody, welcome to Paperclipping. I'm your host Noell Hyman, and today we're in my scrapbooking room so I can show you how I organize my stuff. It used to be that I worked out of some boxes like this on my living room floor. Eventually I upgraded to a rolling bag that I brought into the kitchen. Then I got a corner of my bedroom, and now I've got this small spare room in our house that's totally mine. So I'm going to show you how I've set it up over the past year. It's taking me this long to get it to how I like it, and hopefully that'll give you some ideas of how you can organize your stuff, whatever situation you're in. I divided my room up into two different areas, task-related areas, and on that side is my creative side. We'll get to that in a minute. This is my organizational side, or my office side. So starting over this way, we've got the printer and scanner. Underneath that is office supplies and mailing supplies. In these cupboards, we've got some video and software related supplies. It's not till we get over here where we get to more of my scrapbooking stuff. And in here I've got my idea books and my magazines, and also some photo albums as photo storage binders until I scrapbook them. This is my photo management area right here. In addition to those photo albums, I've got a box of photos here. So all of these are scrappable photos. Right here is a recipe box, and in it it's got tabs for each person in our family, and that's where I store the little stories that I jot down, the funny things that the kids say, and then some memorabilia here. This is a situation that needs to be changed that's not really fitting my memorabilia now, but stuff that I just need to put in here until I'm ready to go through it and scrapbook it. All of that's right here. So when I'm ready to sit down and figure out what I want to scrapbook, this is where I sit and this is where I work on that. The biggest organizational problem that I run into with scrapbooking is having unfinished items and finding a place for them. Especially for this show, I end up with lots and lots of layouts that I haven't had time to finish, or projects. And so I've got a solution that I'm really enjoying right now. And these are these drawers here. I keep my enlarged photos in here. A lot of times I enlarge a bunch of photos expecting to scrapbook them right away, and it takes me a while, so I keep those in here. These are some unfinished layouts in these drawers. And then over here is where I keep my layouts that are finished, but maybe they need to be held out for an episode of Paperclipping, or maybe I need to photograph them. And so I keep them in these slots here. This one is for stuff for Paperclipping Live that I'm going to be using during the show. I also happen to keep my cardstock over here. It's a little bit separate from my other scrapbooking stuff, but this is a good place for it, so this is what works for me. The last thing is mini books. A lot of times we start a mini book and it takes a while before those get finished, or I'll get items from a vacation that I'm going to use for a mini book. And so I found that storage bins with lids that I can just stack up are a great place for keeping those. This is my more creative side, and so once I've picked out my photos and my stories, I bring them over here, and this is where I get to work. I've made all of my sorting and organizing decisions based on the way that I scrapbook. So I need to have everything visible. That's the way I work best. So I've got everything visible and in reach right here all around my table. And the way that I've done that is I've got these really shallow shelves from IKEA. They're just big enough to fit all these jars and stamps and little things here. And it makes really good use of the vertical space right here, and I can see everything. I've also got these open shelves on this side, and I got this idea from my good friend Deidre Long. She's got the same shelves in black in her scrap room. And so again, I can see all these little items and the things that I need, and it's easy to just reach up and get what I want. The other thing is I made use of glass because you can see through it, so I can see all the ribbon in my jars. These were jelly jars. I just cleaned them out. They had jelly in them, and they're really cute, and they add some nice color to the scrap room. Also, these are votive candle holders. I have a lot of these, and so I just add my little trinkets and things in these. And then if you look this way, I've got some glass dessert dishes. I have a whole huge set of those. So I just took a few of the extras that we rarely need and put some of my buttons and other little tags and things in there. So everything's visible, easy to get. It works best for me to work this way. I also use some of these open containers that sit right on my table for my everyday supplies, like my tools and my adhesives. And then I've got this interesting rack right here. This holds my glitter and my stickles and my embossing powder, and it's great because it's visible so I can see everything that's in it and remember what I have, and it's also easy to reach. But the cool thing about this is this came from Goodwill. So originally it was a rack that displayed shower gels and lotions, and now it's holding my scrapbook supplies. So I didn't have anything new manufactured that I bought and brought home. It also is great because it holds these little products right here, little gaffer tape rings and some notebooks, and I just used some bookbinding rings to hold those on here. I mentioned earlier how important it is to fashion the way that you organize your scrapbooking supplies by the way that you actually scrapbook. And for me, pattern paper is essential in my scrapbooking. I like to mix a lot of different patterns together. And so having all of my pattern paper and my scraps right at my table was more important to me than having my cropping tools. So right here I've got this tray, and this is just a wooden tray that I had in my house that I wasn't really using, and I put my scraps, almost all of my scraps, in this tray, and I get them all mixed up because I like to see them mixed together like that. It gives me new ideas. Also, because I was finding that my little smaller pieces, my narrower strips and little tiny pieces were getting lost under those big pieces. So I took this candle holder, this is for big block candles, another item that I don't really use in my decorating, and I put my scraps in there, those smaller pieces. They're both right here at my table where I can just get to them. And then for my whole pieces of pattern paper, once again, they're right within my reach, and they're right over here in this bin, and this is one of the few things that I actually bought specifically for my scrap room. And so in this bin I've got these different plastic envelopes that hold different papers. These come from Creative Memories, and I've got my pattern paper mostly organized by manufacturer just because I recognize paper by their manufacturer. I know what each manufacturer tends to, what kind of patterns they use and what kind of colors, and so that's the way I think. If you don't think that way, maybe you think in terms of color. Whichever way it is that you hunt for paper is a good way to organize it. So if you tend to look for certain colors, you could organize it by color. If you think more in terms of types of patterns like organics compared with geometrics and things like that, you might want to organize that way, or it may be style. Whichever way that you find that you're constantly looking for paper is the way that you should organize your paper. The best organizational tip that I can share with a scrapbooker is to ask yourself what it is that you're constantly looking for or hunting for while you're scrapbooking. It doesn't just apply to patterns, but also all the other items that you're putting on your layouts. And so as you're scrapbooking, you can start paying attention to the things that you're constantly looking for. I found myself constantly looking for journaling blocks and things to journal on. And so I started sorting my scrapbooking paper that's lined, the scraps that are left over, in this container, and all the little journaling spots and blocks and different things like that. Eventually I realized I use my journaling spots totally differently from my journaling blocks. And when I'm looking for journaling spots, it's not so much to journal, but to have some kind of a background or frame for my embellishments. And so as a result, I now separate my journaling spots. And so I've got these little stickers and things in this container because they have a different function for me. I'm also often looking for entire words, maybe to put in my journaling or as my title. I want whole words, and so I'm looking for words a lot. So I've got all of my word items in this little box here. And some of them are rub-ons, some of them are stamps. I've got some word acrylic stamps here, some are stickers. To me, it doesn't matter what type of word they are, it's just the fact that they're words, and that's a function that they have for me. Also, date-related items. I'm looking for date things all the time. So again, I've got some date stamps here, some date stickers, and different date-related things in this place. And that just helps me know exactly where to go look when I want a specific thing on my page. This is an old ugly TV stand from way back in our poor newlywed days, and it actually works perfectly for me as an area for my messy, crafty, artsy stuff. So right in this area I keep my paints and my paintbrushes, my paint palette. I've got my gessos, my big bottles of glue, some ink, and some embossing tools. And I like it right here. It's to the side of my table. It's a little bit farther away because I don't use these every day. I don't use them as often as my other items. And so they work perfectly just sitting right here on the side. When I do need them, they're all together. I've also got my cutting mats and my Freds or my portable tables in there. And then I've got this little basket, again this came from Goodwill, where I keep my stamps that need to be cleaned, and obviously I have a whole lot that need to be cleaned. I haven't done it in a while. You may have also noticed the camera that's sitting right here. This is the camera that we use for Paperclipping Live, and it's kind of in my way, but we use it every single week, so it just sits here along with the light. And that's an example of real life getting in your way, and sometimes that's just the way it is and you just make it work for you. Hopefully this gave you some ideas for how you can sort your scrapbooking supplies and organize your scrapbooking space. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, have fun paperclipping.
you.